News Channel 13, live at 11, begins right now.
Finally, this country is having a real discussion about health care.
You can't opt out of health care. You can't opt out of life.
What will become of our health care system? The Supreme Court ready to rule on Obamacare. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Jim Cambridge.
And I'm Jessica Layton. Good evening. The U.S. Supreme Court tonight is on the brink of a landmark decision that will shape the future of American health care.
As if that weren't enough, the election year ruling could have a huge impact on the presidential race and the lives of millions of Americans. News Channel 13's Dan Levy has tonight's top story live from the newsroom. Good evening, Dan.
Good evening, Jim. No matter how the U.S. Supreme Court rules tomorrow on the constitutionality of sweeping health care reform law that's championed by President Obama, most political pundits believe it will inevitably divide the country. The stakes couldn't be any higher. Health care reform is President Obama's signature achievement, perhaps his legacy.
Here in the United States of America, nobody has to go broke because they get sick.
Meanwhile, presumptive Republican presidential nominee Mitt Romney is telling his supporters if the high court strikes down the law, Obama's first term will be wasted.
One thing we already know, however, we already know it's bad policy and it's got to go.
Why it's polarized is unclear to me.
Dr. John Bennett is the CEO of Capital District Physicians Health Plan, who says either way the Supreme Court rules will have an impact on his business. He believes polarization of health care detracts everyone from achieving meaningful progress.
It cheapens the debate because there's no longer intelligent debate about ideas. There's just posturing and screaming and yelling, and I think it cheapens the whole thing.
We really need to be where the rest of the industrialized world is.
Alice Brody speaks on behalf of Single Payer New York, one of several advocacy groups that will rally outside the state capitol on Thursday. She supports the Affordable Care Act, although she also concedes it won't remedy the nation's entire health care dilemma.
We will still have fundamental problems in the system that have not been addressed. We think that really the country has no other option because health care costs in this country are absolutely off the charts.
Even though most Americans say they would welcome most parts of the measure, the main controversy arises over the requirement that most Americans have to purchase health care or else pay a fine.
We all have bodies. We all are human beings. We all have health or lack of it, and we all are going to get sick. So there's no human being who can opt out of the health care system.
And that, in a nutshell, is the gist of what the court will decide on. 26 states, led by Florida, argue that individuals cannot be forced to buy insurance, or any product for that matter, that they don't want or they don't need. Full coverage of the U.S. Supreme Court's decision on Affordable Care Act will be online on WNYT.com, as well as on air tomorrow right here on News Channel 13. Jessica.
All right, Dan, thank you.